this video, it all feels a little bit incongruous. How does it change what we know or don't know about this still mysterious story?
I think there are a few interesting things about the video. First thing to pick out is that they mention that they have a lawyer and that their lawyer is going to be representing them in court in less than 2 weeks' time. Now, Beinash Batul, as you can hear, speaks fluent English, and yet she refers to the hearing as happening on 19th September 2023. It has the feel of a statement that was written by a lawyer. And that might or might not explain why Beinash Batul read it while Irfan Sharif sat next to her saying nothing. Secondly, it spends one, perhaps two sentences on Sara and her death, and it describes it as an incident, not an accident, which again, if the statement has been pre-prepared, that's interesting. And thirdly, it says that their family are in hiding because they're afraid that the police are going to torture and kill us, and that their family have been harassed. Well, Jhelum police chiefs have told the BBC since that video was released that those allegations are false.
Have they actually been charged in Pakistan then? I mean, this court hearing that they refer to, what is it?
Well, it's interesting that there's little detail at the moment. They haven't been charged because they haven't been found. There's no indication of where this video was filmed, where Beinash Batul and Irfan Sharif are at this stage. In terms of a timeline, you mentioned the start of it. So police believe that Irfan Sharif, Beinash Batul, flew from the UK to Islamabad on August the 9th. Sara's body was found the following day in Surrey at their home in Woking. But after landing in Islamabad, they believe they travelled to see relatives in the city of Jhelum, which is kind of southeast of Islamabad. And indeed, Mohammed Sharif, Sara's grandfather, Irfan's father, told the Sunday Times that they had visited the family home there. They left on August the 12th. Arrived on August the 12th, left 5 a.m. the following day. And after that, police don't know where they went and don't know where they are now.
And there's no indication of where the video was filmed?
Indeed, no.
Alex Dibble, thank you very much. Now let's turn to Chris Wilde, a former government advisor on children's social care. Chris, I wonder what your thoughts are after seeing the video released by the father and stepmother of Sara. I feel I feel uncomfortable about the fact that there doesn't seem to have been enough attention focused on the death in what is now being described by her family as an incident of this young girl.
Yeah, I feel very, very uncomfortable myself. I'm trying to keep professional in my response to this as well. But I think what we're forgetting here, we've got a dead 10-year-old girl who was known to the system. There's been a huge safeguarding failure with this young girl. And this is not really my area of expertise. I normally look after 16 to 18-year-old young people in semi-independent care, but I have a 10-year-old daughter myself, and being on the care review and looking at solutions to prevent things like this from happening. And the care review was published in January. So local authorities, obviously, these recommendations have been rolled out into local authorities. So the recommendations were in place already to keep young people safe. She would have been known to a lot of multi-agencies. And I think the lack of media attention around this, and we've had two high-profile cases like this in the last 5 years, and more politicians have spoken out. It's had more public response. And it just seems to me, but we've forgotten about this little girl, this innocent little girl who's been found murdered. Let's say she's found dead. I don't want to be obviously put myself in a legal position. She's been found dead in a house. Her parents have absconded, escaped, ran away. It's really, really upsetting. It's really upsetting. And it just seems to me it's really, I don't know why we're not putting more attention into this and why not a lot more politicians in particular, per se, are not speaking out.
We were told in the beginning, when we first heard reports that her body had been found, that she was known to social services, but we haven't really heard very much more about that either, which surely would be a key contributing factor to unraveling at least some of the mystery surrounding what's going on and perhaps, pursuing justice for Sara.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like I said, just going back to cases like this in the past previously, every multi-agency would have been involved, doctors, police, the school. It just seems, but, again, it's been quite evasive and not a lot of people are speaking up and speaking out about this case at all. And there's a lot of questions which need to be answered as well. When I first came out about this and spoke to the media, I was really upset about this coming out of the care review and having to advocate and my role is to advocate for young people and care children in particular, and be a voice of reason and represent these young people, and call people out when they've done things wrong. And I think Surrey Council alone have got a lot more questions what need to be put forward to them, and they need to be, I want to know those failings. I want to know why, this girl was put in that position. I want to know how she's ended up in a house dead all alone. And nobody's speaking up about it. And I'm in Parliament next week, and it's something I will be speaking about, and I will be asking for some answers and putting a lot more pressure on Surrey Council to come public with this.
And you talk about putting pressure on Surrey Council, also, I presume, on government and even the Prime Minister.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm in Parliament next Wednesday, and I will be directing this as a massive safeguarding failure. She's a British citizen, let's not forget that. And I think there's a lot I want to say and I can't say. And I just think if that's, cases like this in the past where it's been young people from affluent areas and young girls who come from certain families, they get a lot more attention. There's a lot more police involved. There's a lot more, government interaction. But for this case, it just seems that we've forgotten about it like it's fish and chip paper. And that's what's upsetting for me.
Are you saying that Sarah's case is being overlooked because she's, a member of a minority community?
I don't want to say that publicly, of course, but I've got my, I have a feeling for some reason we're not taking it serious for many reasons, and that could be one of them. I don't know. I'm not.
And Chris, just more generally, what are the holes in the system, the gaps in the system through which an innocent young 10-year-old like Sara can and regularly, reasonably frequently do fall through?
Yeah, because we've got a care system at the moment that's not fit for purpose. We've got social workers quitting every week. We've got young people, there's local authorities are inundated with young people coming into the service. Social workers are leaving university and getting a caseload of 40, 50 people. How can you look after 40, 50 people? It's impossible. So that's why young people fall through the gaps. And, they say, but history repeats itself, and it really does in this case, because we haven't learned lessons. The care review was published in January. This is one thing we looked at, looking at doing more multi-agency work, getting more child protection practitioners to work with family intervention groups to prevent things like this from happening. And then even when there's the first hint, the first sign of negligence or abuse, you remove that child or you put that support in place. And this is a case which, I'm sure we will be studying for many years, how not, failures of the social system, how not to go about your work. And it's really, really upsetting. Like I said, it just seems that her life doesn't have any meaning. And for me, that's not acceptable.